Hello and welcome to another episode of The Defenders on Sansad TV. And in this unique outdoor initiative, we have with us Mr. Amit Kalyani, who is not just the Deputy Managing Director of Bharat Forge and the Kalyani Group, but more importantly, is a man who has spent a quarter century in getting to grips with India's defense needs. So, welcome on the show.
Thank you very much.
Would like you to throw light on what are the areas you believe that we as a country should focus on our indigenization and our defense initiatives, particularly in the space that your company has carved a name for itself: artillery systems, armored vehicles, and now even missile systems. So just give us the big picture before we get on to the specifics.
We have to build upon the capability that exists within the country, and there are 3 or 4 areas where India is very strong. We are very strong at metallurgy. Many companies in India have good capability. We are very strong at engineering. Engineering as in engineering of components, engineering of subsystems, systems. We are very good at 3D modeling, simulations and computer aided design engineering, and we are very good at software and programming. So, if you were to look at these discrete capabilities and you were to put a series of products against them, there are many products which would tick the box in terms of utilizing these capabilities. If you look at basically design of any product today, it is all done virtually. You do it on a computer screen, you do it using fundamentals, using simulation, using 3D technologies, and then you manufacture them using materials which are appropriate to make those products. So, if you look at 2 products that we make, the artillery guns and the protected vehicles, they are basically utilizing the core competencies of the Kalyani Group, which is metallurgy, metallurgical manufacturing, where we are amongst the best in the world. We have a huge repository of metallurgical people, capabilities, manufacturing capabilities, and we have set up some bespoke capabilities for making artillery products. This is for making the breech, the barrel, and such critical components, recoil, which are very, very quality conscious components and very unique to the kind of products we make.
So, I just cut in here and to help the viewer understand that some of the terminologies which is common knowledge for you and your team, for a lot of people, they are not able to relate with it beyond, say, an artillery gun. Even there is a bit of confusion in people's minds, difference between a gun and a howitzer and a mortar and whatever else. So, before you explain that to the viewer, what is it that leads you to take a strategic decision? That why is it that India needs more artillery guns as against, say, boot and bayonet kind of equipment, where the bulk of the Indian army is still deliberating on equipping the Indian fighting soldier for the 21st century? That is important, but so is artillery, and it can be, as we have seen in Kargil, a game changer. So, what leads you to take these decisions?
So, first of all, it has to be based on what works in the theaters of battle for our country. We have 2 main areas where the country is most concerned. One is on the northwest border, one is on the northeastern and northern border. Now, both these borders are fairly inhospitable. One is a desert and the other is mountainous terrain, which is 15, 16, 17 all the way till 19,000 feet. Now, in these both these terrains, you need something which is going to allow you to fight from afar and fight economically and for a long period of time from afar. As you mentioned yourself, during Kargil, the Bofors guns have proven themselves and proven their worth in gold, in fact. and made the difference between for the result for India. And India needs to modernize its artillery. We have not had any more howitzers or any new artillery guns after the Bofors guns, although we have manufactured some under license, but it's still not the same, and those guns are of a 70s, 80s vintage. You need something far more modern and far more robust. We have a few numbers of the M777, but those are extremely expensive, and those are 39 cal, as you know. So, they do not really have the range that one needs. With the ATAGS gun, which is jointly developed between DRDO and us and the Tatas, we have a world beating product, where it has been designed specifically with the theatres of India in mind, and it is a product which is in the beginning of its exploitation. So, today this product is a 155-52 cal. It is very possible that going forward this could be a 55 cal or even a 58 cal, and as a 52 cal itself, it shoots at 48 kilometers in zone 7. Obviously, you are not going to fire every round in zone 7, but the point is that this gun is capable of shooting very long range extremely accurately in a very stable manner, and with all the modern ammunition handling, automation, we have electric drives, drive by wire. So, it is a very easy to use gun, it is very contemporary, and it can shoot further than what the opposition can. So, it can give you that added cushion of distance, so you can hit someone without getting hit.
Yeah, and coming to hit and without getting hit, you actually led me on to my next question. How would you say that the new equipment that we are producing prepares us to avoid retaliatory hit from the enemy side, who would be using gun locating radars and more advanced versions of that?
Correct. So, the retaliatory fire can come in two ways. One is through reverse artillery fire. The second obviously is surface to surface or air to surface products, which are very difficult to beat. But on the artillery side, I think we have added advantage of range, and we have very good mobility. Even our towed gun, the ATAGS, is self mobile. It can move at a speed of up to 35 kilometers. It can go through rough terrain, and it can be repositioned. So, you can shoot a barrage of 30-40 rounds and then relocate yourself.
Shoot and scoot.
Shoot and scoot. Then we have a second product, which is the ultralight howitzer, which we have made, a 39 cal, which is of course also very light and can be towed anywhere very quickly. And we have a 105, which is a true shoot and scoot vehicle weapon, which is mounted on a small truck, and that truck can self mobile at about 80 to 100 kilometers an hour. It can go in any rough terrain, and it is completely self contained. So, we have a combination of these products, which will allow you to do shooting at point such as bunker busting, and shooting at someone which is encamped or hidden somewhere. You have something which is more an area weapon or a longer distance weapon, and then you have something which can really shoot beyond, significantly beyond visual range.
I am just going to ask you a very sort of layman centric question, that when you go to the drawing board and take a decision that okay, our next thrust area would be this, and therefore we would like to produce these platforms. Your organization is large. Obviously, these cannot be kept hushed up for too long. Do you feel that you can, despite having done the brainstorming and despite having gone to the drawing board again and again till you fine tune your design, do you feel you can still maintain the edge over other rivals abroad and even in India, who would obviously go quickly to the drawing board and try and beat you in your own game?
See, it's not very easy. Okay, first of all, I don't think it's easy to make such kind of weapons. Designing a weapon is one thing, manufacturing it is something else, and manufacturing it to a certain quality standard consistently is an entirely different game. When we look at designing products, we look at what are the features or capabilities that will give our troops an edge. For example, in the ATAGs, one of the complaints people have had in the past is that a towed gun needs a very large turning radius.
Yeah.
So, we created a very intelligent front towing system with rear steerable wheels, which dramatically reduce the turning radius. Our turning radius is reduced by almost 40%. So, now this coupled with 4 wheels distributes the load across larger points, so that you do not have one single axle being loaded by the whole gun. You have 2 axles that share the weight. So, it distributes the load, and therefore, it allows you to go on the older bridges also and navigate the narrow roads that we have in the mountains and mountain passes, in order to reach the highest point where this gun can really make a difference. And on the design front, design is an iterative process, but there is also no end to how you can design something. So, as I mentioned earlier, that you can exploit this product for the next 15 to 20 years. We have designed something where the material science, the volume of the chamber is such that this gun can be exploited over the next 15 to 20 years and keep giving us that advantage and that edge. Now, we have not even moved to rocket assisted ammunition yet, but just with base bleed we are able to achieve 48 kilometers. But if you were to look at a larger caliber gun, we can obviously shoot longer ranges.
Quick question here, and again you have led me on to my question, that is, the range and the ammunition. Now, we all know ammunition behaves differently in different climatic conditions. So, when you talk of the maximal range of 48 kilometers, are you talking of that being applicable in ideal conditions in desert and not necessarily in mountains, where there would be a certain impact of the high altitude and cold weather on your ammunition?
See, you are absolutely right. It's like when you buy a car or a two-wheeler, there is a fuel economy as tested that comes. Now, that is in an ideal condition. Obviously, we are not doing a extreme simulated condition here, but this is actually what has been fired. Yes, in the deserts, because the ranges are in the deserts. You can't go to 18,000-19,000 feet and shoot 48 kilometers, you'll end up in somebody else's country. Yeah. So, it's based on a certain assumption, but the point is that the differential of 20% between 40 kilometers and 48 kilometers, the differential of 20% will still exist no matter what altitude you go to, provided the ammunition is of the right quality.
Okay. So, and linked with that is, we had heard in the days when Bofors used to continue to make news for a variety of political and other reasons, that there was a time during the Kargil conflict when our ammunition supplies were a bit iffy, if I may use that term, because
yes, I know all about that.
Yeah. So, clearly the big advantage that you would bring on the table for India and its armed forces, that ammunition supplies would be guaranteed to the extent that they are made at home, and we wouldn't have to make any desperate FMS arrangements to go and procure them. But how is it that this aspect is something that leads to a national decision that in future we will make in India and use stuff made in India, and how does this rub off on the rival systems that exist?
So, I think today the government is very sure and confident in the capability of Indian manufacturing and wants to localize, because India is the largest defense importer in the world. Yeah. And a lot of the products in these categories are of 70s, 80s, 90s vintage. Nobody has developed new products in these categories abroad, because everybody there is focusing on missiles and on aircraft and submarines and stuff like that. Whereas, some of these kind of products that we have developed, I think are a very sweet spot for India, because they harness our capabilities and meet our requirements. So, in terms of creating products that the user and the nation wants and sees advantage in using, I think is going beyond the collaboration between the DRDOs and the private sector. I think the next step has to be the collaboration between the user and the private sector. I mean, with DRDO, of course, if you take an example of the Indian Navy, they are today working very closely with the private sector, because they have a lot of engineering capability.
And they've built it up from the very
Exactly. Now, in the land systems, I think that engineering capability is largely in DRDO. But if we get users who become more, say, people who are technology oriented.
And the army, for example, creates that culture of associating with
Exactly. The culture of creating solutions that help us win.
Yes.
Not buying something off the shelf.
Yeah.
And secondly, many times what we do is we look at 5 different products and then we create a combination of those and specify that, and then that's an impossible task to meet. I think we have to be realistic, we have to create specifications that meet specific requirements. Right. You can't have a catch-all for everything.
Okay, so I'm veering a bit away from artillery guns. It's to another product that you all make, and which is again found approval with military and the government. And these are the armored cars or armored vehicles,
yeah,
which you would have in recently in February this year, that you received a big order for the same. This M4
yes,
platform, what is it that it brings on the table which is different from the armored cars and armored vehicles that exist?
So, the first thing is that it's a large armored vehicle. It can carry up to 10 troops.
Yeah, so it's like a section can go into
Yes, and it has a turret which you can have on it with a remote control weapon station. It is Tanag level 3. It can take a 50 kilo side blast and 10 kilo underbelly. It's been proven. We finished the blast test. It's extremely mobile and it's only a 4x4. So, it has very good articulation. It is very mobile. It has a very powerful engine. It has a 450 horsepower engine, and it is extremely well designed that the survivability of the crew is paramount.
Which is very important.
So, also I think here the doctrine of the Indian Army and the various paramilitary organizations which transport troops into forward areas has changed. You know, from moving them in buses to now moving them in specialty vehicles, because these vehicles are not just used for troop transport, but they will also be used for action.
True, and particularly in the case of JNK, for example.
JNK, the northeast.
Yeah. I mean, incidents like the Pulwama ambush or the other ambushes that took place in Nagaland and elsewhere. Having some experience myself of counterinsurgency operations, I found the real vulnerability is when you are in a vehicle. You are quite safe when you are on your feet, or you are quite safe if you are in an M4 type vehicle, but not in your usual 3-ton Shaktiman or whatever, because I mean those were not designed to give you protection.
To be fair, they are not designed for that purpose.
Absolutely, that's what I said. So, when you were to provide such platforms, it reminds me of the BMP vehicles that the mechanized infantry uses with tracks in desert areas, again carrying about a section worth. How is it that these vehicles provide troops who move with Bori Bistar, as it were, that they have the combat protection, but does it have extra space for load carrying? Because this is going to be an essential, or that will just follow up.
No, it has adequate space for them to carry their rucksack and their weapons. Essentials. It's not meant for carrying luggage and cargo and stuff like that.
Yeah, right. No, so obviously when you said it can take a underbelly blast also, there is an inbuilt mine protection.
Yeah, absolutely.
What about the tires?
Also. Okay. So, the tires are special tires. They have CTIS and they have full run flat capability.
Okay, now.
But obviously, if you put a mine under a tire, the wheel is going to blow up.
Yeah, if it can blow a tank up, it can
exactly.
blow this up.
But the people inside will be safe.
Okay, fair enough.
And they have gun ports from which they can shoot.
Right.
You will have a remote control weapon station, so the guy can, the troops can sit inside and shoot without being exposed.
Okay. And now I come to my final area of interest, where again you are ahead of the game in a way, you're moving in, and that is UAVs and remote controlled, what would you call those?
Drones.
Drones, which are now clearly emerging as the game changer. What is it that you feel that you can bring on the table to help India address a very serious shortcoming in our capabilities vis-a-vis China and the China-Turkey combine for Pakistan? So, what is the timeline you're looking at producing these drones? And a game changer was also these small drones that were being used by the American suppliers for Ukraine's forces to go and hit the tanks right on the top, which is the softest part of the tank.
So, look, today we are not making any weaponized drones. The drones that we are making today are largely for carrying cargo to high altitudes and to forward positions. So, you can carry medicines, you can carry emergency supplies, you can carry up to 50 kilos at up to a certain altitude, and above 14,000 feet you can carry less and less than that, and up to 18,000 feet you can carry 20 kilos. So medical supplies, emergency, any radio supplies, anything that you need in an emergency can be supplied. Second is you can use this for patrolling. So you can have them fly ahead of you with with a full ball on it, which can have IR, thermal, obviously visual cameras, and then you can do image fusion and look at what's there. So it gives you the eyes and ears just ahead of where you want to go.
It enhances your visibility.
It enhances not just your visibility, or your situational awareness.
Yes, yes. Now, so if this kind of equipment, what is the timeline you're thinking of them being inducted into our
So right now they're in trials, and then one can get into serial production fairly quickly. Okay. These are not, they're relatively
but
easy.
this kind of equipment in particular, which is not, as a commentator would say, which is not proactive or aggressive
they're not
equipment.
weaponized.
Yeah, weaponized. They are passive kind of military systems. So, would you look at them being used extensively, particularly in Naxal areas also?
Also. And also we are seeing them being used for disaster relief.
Yes.
So, for example, you have an earthquake, you have people buried under, under rubble, etc. If you have a thermal camera, or you have a through wall detection, microwave based detection system, you can see at least where people are. So, there are multiple applications for this. See, in a drone, the platform is of x value. It is the payload which is of x to the power
of as many times
exactly,
you want to multiply.
that much more value.
Right.
So, what we are focusing on is creating a platform of drones and then a platform of payloads.
Okay. So,
and then doing the full system integration and having the SIGINT, so that they can operate at a distance, and then using things like AI, using machine learning, algorithms. How do you go through all the data and do data analytics that help the user, because there's too much data, you will get drowned in the data.
No, actually that is the biggest challenge for commanders, to be able to sift the relevant from the irrelevant.
Correct.
Because, but in any case, that is the subject of another discussion, because drones really are now something we need to apply ourselves more and more to. But nice to know that your company, Bharat Forge, is also looking well ahead of the pack and not trying to reinforce something where you're already good at, but going into more challenging domains and being able to provide us quick fix answers to the issues that are at hand. It is absolutely enlightening for me to understand from you in a first person account as to what all goes into and what is the level of thinking that you all are applying. Quite clearly, you are not a desk bound MD, but you are one who is hands-on, and which is very important, because unless you have a feel of the equipment you have, what you're producing, and the smell of the factories regularly reminding you, because that's where it comes.
That's where it all happens.
You'll obviously not be able to provide India what India needs, and what you are doing so well is providing India and fulfilling the Prime Minister and the government's initiative of Make in India and make more for India. So thank you very much.
Thank you, and I have one request. Today, we are providing solutions based on whatever information we have and whatever we are able to put together from RFQs, RFPs, etc. So, we create Horizon 1, Horizon 2 in our own minds based on what we feel is appropriate. If the users can truly partner with us, work with us, we will be able to serve them far better.
No, true.
That is my one request, that please come and partner with us, ask us to work with you, help us create the future for India.
Clearly.
That will then help us create the right Horizon 3 and whatever products are required. And we can't do everything, but we have a very good ecosystem of SMEs that work with us. We have very talented people, and we have the ability to get a lot of talented people. So, that's the direction.
It's very important for the army to, in the catch-up game, to adopt the steps that the Navy took decades ago and create greater engagement with the industry, and to help you all with their demand list. That this is what we want, and leave it to the people then to produce that. But thank you very much, and thanks very much for your insights, and I hope our viewers have learnt a lot and feel proud that we in India can produce the best artillery systems and other military platforms, which eventually I'm sure other countries will also start tapping us for buying them. But thanks.
Thank you.
Until our next episode, goodbye.